Hello, and welcome to Rob from the Internet Talks About Beer, a show where we discuss different styles of beer, beer history, beer flavor profiles. We give shout outs to breweries we think make exceptional beer, and we talk about whatever in the hell else comes to mind during the course of the conversation. I'm Rob from the Internet. Let's talk about beer. All right, so joining me today is Christophe from Hops Bros. If you would, Christophe, tell me a little bit about yourself, how you got into craft beer, and what you do when you're not talking to people like me about craft beer.
Oh, that's a serious question. I'm mostly known for talking about beer with people. That's usually what I do. So my name is Christophe Paquette. I'm originally from Gatineau. I'm still in Gatineau, a big brewery. Focus over the last 5 years, and now I work for Cinquième Baron, which is a new brewery that opened up a year ago. I'm a brand ambassador for them, so usually what I do is talk about beer with people. But I run a channel it's been YouTube channel for about 6-7 years with my with my best friend Max. He's a native Franco-Ontarian that now resides in the Niagara region. He's brewing at Bench, a brewing company, very talented guy. We've been a bit on the hiatus lately for videos, but we do a bunch of videos from Craft Beer 101s talking about styles like you do here, but also ranging from doing just regular vlogs to random shit because we just like shooting videos and having fun. But also we got in touch, basically, me and you, on the internet, on Twitter, via our common friend, David Buis, which is a fantastic guy, and we wrote a book with him. He actually just did all the work, and I put some words out there, and, David is a very talented guy, so that's why, so we did a couple of cool stuff, and on the side, I'm doing lives on Instagram with the folks at BOS Podcasts, Beerism, and Nathan Does Beer, if you know them from Instagram and all over the internet, since we're on the internet. Every 2 Tuesdays, we're doing...
Wait. We're on the internet?
Your name is Rob from the Internet. I was expecting some sort of metaverse thing happening. But yeah, so that's basically me in general. If you don't stop me talking, I'll just keep going.
I gotcha. So what I'm hearing is you like beer, you make beer, and you talk about beer.
Yes. I don't actually make beer.
You sound like someone I know.
I don't actually make it. Yeah,
you don't make beer.
Because the beer I make is awful. So I just
so you just drink beer.
I got in touch with good friends that are good at brewing it instead, so I can taste it and give my opinion about it. So obviously I know how to brew it. I can brew it, like if you give me the ingredients and the time, because I think brewing is mostly time. Then I would say I could probably do something that's really good. But the last pale ale I did was a metal pale ale because it tasted like literal metal. But yeah.
Gotcha. Awesome. Well, today, folks, we are going to be talking about Vienna lagers. This is our second episode on Vienna lagers, and I am never opposed to talking about a beer more than once, as everybody can attest to with the 4 or 5 episodes I've done on IPAs and the 4 or 5 episodes I've done on stouts. It's always good to get someone else's feedback on a style of beer and their experience with it. So, for those who don't know, Vienna-style lagers originated in the late 1830s. Developed by a man named Anton Dreher. He had gained knowledge of making pale malts and made his malts in England, where they had just come up with the smoke-free kiln, so they didn't have everything being all smoky and dark. And he decided he was going to take some lager-style yeast and throw some beer in a basement and let it sit for a while and see what happened with it. So what he came up with was the Vienna lager, which it's a great style as far as I'm concerned. It's nice and clean tasting. It has a very, very pleasing color. It's kind of a copperish color if you're not familiar. The style of beer became famous in 1867 when Dreher served it at a beer hall at the International Exposition in Paris, France. So, hey, there you go. It's got Vienna Lager has ties back to
Hey,
France.
it's a surprising history because if I'm not mistaken, I think that's actually the guy that like it. Some people say that he stole some of the techniques of the malting business in England and then kind of like moved it back to Germany. So that's why you got kind of like those nice like copper tones, caramel notes, a bit of like that nice rose
Yep.
flavor. The reason why I when you asked me like what style of beer we should talk about, I was like, yeah, let's do Vienna Lager because for me there's nothing that represents more like the season right now as of Vienna Lagers. Like there's some nice caramel, it's still nice, crisp, easy to drink, but also it feels like autumn right now. Like it feels like the season we're in. We just got past Halloween, and we're just kind of like we want to get it cozy, but not too much. It's not winter cozy. It's just like before winter cozy.
Right, right. Yeah, and for people who don't know, Vienna Lager is actually the parent style of Marzen, which is another one of my favorites. So Marzen is just a Vienna Lager with the alcohol content kind of bumped up a bit, to put it in simplest terms. It's also one of my favorite styles. There's a local brewery to me. It's like 10 minutes away that they have a fantastic Marzen that they still have some on tap. And I think I've gotten 6 growlers from them in the
Ooh.
last 5 weeks.
Yeah. It's Mars. I would say that Marzens are an easy, like even Vienna Lagers, but they are all easy drinking style of beers. They're made to be drank in larger amounts than just uh, slow sipper stouts. Like right now at the brewery we have a rye imperial stouts. It's fantastic, but obviously like it's something that you take in smaller amounts. Even like right now, like the trend is towards like pastry stouts. Like everywhere people's doing that. Obviously there's some very good pastry stouts, but like they're you need to drink it at so small amounts, and right now we can't meet with anyone, so we're stuck drinking those pastry stouts by ourselves. So no, I haven't been drinking pastry stouts. I want more lagers so I can actually drink by myself because we're not drinking in groups anymore.
Right, right. Yeah. No, I would say the same thing about pastry stouts. I have to drink them in smaller quantities, typically just because they're so rich. Any other imperial style stout, I will drink a pint after a pint after a pint all by myself if I have to, because that's my favorite style.
They're kick ass, and like the one we did at the brewery here, like just with the rye, it adds a nice level of subtlety, just nice dryness, dude. Like I find I miss that a lot. Like I haven't seen that much over the past years, and now that I tried it, I'm like, God damn it, I actually missed that. So going back to classic styles like that, lager, I kind of like opened up my mind, and I'm like just tired of like New England IPAs or IPAs in general. Like obviously everyone loves it,
Yep.
but I'm tired of it. Like very tired.
Yeah. No. Same thing. I mean, I will, like I said, my go-to is always going to be an imperial or a barrel-aged stout. But I too have been drinking a lot more lagers in the last few months because I've gotten tired of all the fad beers. Oh, we're doing we're doing a smoothie, slushy, New England IPA, sour, blah blah blah. I'm like, yeah, okay. How about just give me an ESB, or just give
Yeah.
me a Vienna lager, or a Schwarzbier or something. Just something simple, something light, something clean, something that I can drink 6 of them and not feel guilty about it.
Like smoothie beers, like yeah, I'm probably the worst advocate towards them. Like I hate them, but again, like it's a good conversation that I had with friends that are more they approach them a lot more than I do, because it kind of like creates a gateway beer for people that are not used to beer in general. So for newcomers in the industry, having the opportunity to just go like, hey, I'm not going to drink wine tonight, I'm not going to drink a cocktail, I'm going to try that smoothie beer because it looks nice. And then they're like, hey, I didn't know beer can taste like that. And then you get them into drinking sours, you get them into drinking more different style, like gozas, and then it's like a slippery slope that can get a wine drinker or a cocktail drinker into the actual like history of beer and how we make beer in general, even though like they're probably going to drink like New England IPAs, smoothie beers for a while, but after a while they're going to be curious, going to get curious about, hey, you know what? I love that brewery that did that smoothie beer, but what happened if they do an ESB? Like, I'm going to try it. Like, I trust that they do good product. So obviously I'm going to see what they can pull out with that nice cupperish beer, right? So I think it has obviously their downsides of we as already an established community of like beer geeks are kind of like, no, like it's not beer. But again, like it gets new drinkers in that beer industry that we're trying to kind of like push towards new heights of being a bigger market instead of like the big guys right now. Like I don't know if you see where I'm going with that, but again, like there's some sort of like
I mean, you have to, pushing the boundaries and making these fad style beers is a great way to get non-beer drinkers or people who are typically drinking your macros only, like your Canadians and your Molson, your Molson Canadian and your Labatt Blue and your Coors and whatever. If you have something they're like, oh, that actually sounds kind of interesting, I might give that a try, and then you might get them off the path of only drinking the big brewery stuff and get him, as you said, on that slippery slope that happens to be oh so deliciously slippery of craft beer. I mean, so yeah, it might be something that people like you and I aren't that big of a fan of, and to be fair, I will try any style of beer once, twice, just to make sure I don't like it or I do like it, and then if I do like it, I'll drink it quite regularly. But I'm not one to chase after those. I won't go someplace. Oh, hey, this place has a new whatever whatever the style of the week is beer. If I go someplace and they happen to have it, I will give it a try. But I won't seek out things like that. There are beer styles I will seek out. If you make a great ESB, I will seek out your facility. If you make a great stout, I will seek out your facility. If you make a kick-ass saison, I will seek out your facility. If you make a smoothie sour, I'll try it if I happen to be where you're at.
It's probably the same for me. Like if you give it to me and you say like, hey, Chris, try it out, I'm going to try it out. Will it end up in my drain? It could. But if it doesn't, then that's a win, right? And I think I do that with pretty much every single beer styles. Like I'm going to try it and see like where does it sit in my overall beer tasting kind of like level. So if it goes better than the actual best that I ever drank, then it's actually a good one according to the style. But if not, then it's kind of like a disappointing beer. So I'm always like in the mood of, not in the mood, but my mindset when I drink is always super analytic. So I try to kind of like veer off sometimes. Like I started drinking a bit more natural wines and get into different cocktails, or not cocktails, but different drinks in general, because I'm just getting tired sometimes and just a bit too analytic. Like even my orange juice in the morning, I'm sipping it, sniffing it, making sure like there's no hop flavors or whatever. So like I don't know if you have the same problem, but for me your family looks at you a bit weird when you sniff your orange juice in the morning.
I mean, hey, whatever. I wouldn't judge you. I mean, I make myself tea every day and I sniff it too. So, just to make sure, did I make tea properly? Yeah, that smells like tea.
Well, I do that with my coffee too. I think everyone that has some sort of like a passion towards just like tasting cool stuff will, like, either it's beer, coffee, tea, orange juice, whatever, like you develop your palate in some way. Like tea is a good way to develop your palate towards herbs and get those nice floral notes. So when you drink a beer that's boosted with a lot of noble hops, then it reminds me a little bit of that tea and this and that, and you get fruity teas, and you do home brewing, right? So using teas in beer, obviously I'm not a fan. Like people that brew with tea, I have a lot of issues. It never really tastes that good. But if you do a good one, then I'm willing to try it again.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm the same way. I'm really, for most beers, just give me a traditional style. I don't need all the the add-ins and the adjuncts and all that stuff. I mean, there's exceptions, obviously, but in my everyday life, what are the things I drink the most? I drink stout, just plain old stout. I drink ESBs. I drink, blonde ales. So I keep it simple for the most part, but I do enjoy the special one-off beers and things like that. But yeah, I don't need them. I'm perfectly fine with the other stuff. So getting back to Vienna lagers,
Yes,
because that's what happens on this show. We always go off track, but that's just part of the thing. So today I am going to be drinking Chain Link from Clifford Brewing in Hamilton, Ontario. Clifford is a fantastic brewery. They were voted Brewery of the Year in 2019, I think it was 2018. They make some great beers. I haven't had one from them that I can say is bad. There's been a couple styles that aren't my thing, but the beers themselves are good. So yeah, so I'm going to crack this puppy open for anyone who's interested. The proper glassware for a Vienna lager is a fluted style glass. Yeah.
I actually got proper glassware. That, like, never happens. I'm a big fan of tekus. So usually
I love tekus.
I just put everything in tekus. Orange juice, coffee, whatever. It's always in tekus. While you pour your beer, I'm going to introduce mine because I'm a bit biased. I work at 5e Baron, so we just released that. It's called Belvedere. It's a classic Vienna lager that we did. For those of you that don't know about 5e Baron, brewery in Elmer, in Quebec side. We do a lot of fantastic lagers. I'm biased again, but we also cover pretty much the whole palette of styles in general. Over the last year, we brewed many different beers. I'm very proud to be part of that team, and obviously, I also run, if you can see right here, called Le Deuxième Étage. So it's a French podcast about beer. If you want to check it out, it's a quite nice podcast that we have, kind of like go into behind the scenes of the industry, but also the food industry in general. We talk about just social issues, issues in beer. We sometimes we go political. Like, why not? I think the industry is somewhat in a shift towards being a bit more conscious about what they do. So obviously, if you want to check it out, want to sharpen your French skills, that's the way to go. I have one episode in English with Noah from Beers, and if you want to check it out, if you want to kind of like, oh yeah, now I dig what he does. I'm going to sharpen my French skills.
Yeah, well, I'm an American transplant, so I know just enough French to insult people, I think, and I'm not conversationally fluent in any other language other than English. So it would do me very little good to listen to your podcast other than to hear people laughing.
Hey, that's good. Maybe for you, French always just sound like baguette,
Yeah, it always sounds like those movies from the 70s with Maurice Chevalier.
Baguette.
Yeah. All right. So checking out this beer. Look at that. Look at that thing. That's a beautiful color. Yours looks like it's a little darker than mine.
Running a bit more nice.
Oh, look, you got branded glass.
Yeah.
Look at you being all promotional.
And if I go like that, you can see like there's the upside down thing that goes with the deuxième étage, and then I have. Sorry about it. Yeah. Like I'm a sellout. Oh, that's fine.
Hey, I am open to shameless self promotion. So it is not anything I find offensive. I actually do quite a bit of shameless self promotion for myself. So I mean, kind of have to try and build an audience.
That's what we do.
But. Yep. So this one, looking at it, it's a nice copper color. It's got a nice thick head on it here. Aromas, no hop aromas on this because it's noble hopped. So you shouldn't really have any hop aromas on it. You shouldn't have any real alcohol aroma coming off of it. It shouldn't be astringent in any way like that. You shouldn't have any like fruity esters or any of the phenols. No weird off things. You should get like toasted malt and like biscuity breadiness, which is delicious, and you get caramel flavors in there. And there's just a very, very, very slight floral aroma on this one. So
in my I just got off a little flu. To put you guys in context, my first daughter goes to daycare, catch something, bring it back home, and I have a 4 weeks old that caught it. So we spent the last week at the hospital. We all caught it. It's not COVID. It's like another virus something, but
Yeah, it's just another virus.
yeah,
of
but
course.
since little babies only breathe by their nose, we spent like 4 days in the hospital just making sure she gets proper oxygen through her nose. So now I'm kind of like getting my my sinus back to smell stuff. But obviously, I know this beer well, so I can go through it without even like tasting it or smelling it. But like Belvedere, it's like a classic. On the aroma, you like on the nose, you get those nice, like you said, like bready, toasty notes. I always refer a bit more on like the biscuit side of things because I think it refers like it's closer like to caramel when you get to the kind of like the taste it has. It has a nice roundness. It's a lot of like nice cereal feel to it. There's a nice dryness that I think comes from the hops that are used in there, but not like you don't want a lot of them to get bitterness. You just want that kind of like to pair with the actual dryness of the malts. You get the hops, and then you have a nice clean finish. That's it.
Yep. Yeah, and this is very much the same thing. So it's got a nice round, soft body, medium carbonation, so you're not going to be sitting there going burp, burp as you drink it. It's got a nice medium, short, medium, right in between for the finish, and then it does the flavor. The flavor has caramel, and it has like it's almost like wheat bread crust is kind of like the flavors, that baked wheat bread crust, and yeah, it's absolutely fantastic. This is one of my favorite beers from Clifford. The other one that they make is called Dark Streets of London, which is their ESB, which is another fantastic beer that they make. I've had far too much of it this past year. But for those who are interested, proper serving temperature for this beer style is 7 to 10 degrees Celsius. That's 45 to 50 degrees for those of you who use Freedom units. It pairs well with things like grilled meats and vegetables and mild cheeses and like biscotti and things like that. Any of your baked goods are going to go really
French
well
onion soup too. Like it's.
Oh yeah, there you go. French onion soup. I haven't had that in ages. Now I want French onion soup.
It's so damn good, and like you can actually put that beer into your French onion soup recipe, which makes it a little bit extra, kind of like just really good. Like with sharp cheddar too. Like it's just nice, like a nice creamy sharp cheddar. Like I would say, like it's a good nice pairing too.
Awesome for the beer nerds and number nerds out there. The color of this should be 12 to 16 SRM with IBUs of 22 to 30, and alcohol anywhere from 4.5 to 5.5 is typical for the style. I think this one comes in at exactly 5. So
I'm at 5 too. So I think we both tick the box. We both check the box. Yeah, sorry, sometimes I have French words coming in, then translation kind of like screws up, and then it comes out all weird. Yeah,
yeah. Don't worry about it. And even if you did really mess up, I'd leave it in because I don't really edit. Because I don't want to, because I think it takes away from the flow of the show. So, I'll do necessary edits if like something falls down or breaks or someone whatever
comes by like naked in the background.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I might leave that. My show's not for children, so
okay. I'm just saying that sometimes it happens. Might be me too.
A couple more beers, is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
it might be you.
I'll try to keep it a bit more casual today.
A bit more casual. Awesome. Some other examples of this beer that I know are good is Great Lakes had one called Elliot Ness. Sierra Nevada has one that's so creatively called Vienna. Ooh. And Chuckanut Brewery also has one that's very, very creatively named Vienna Lager.
Hey, I'm trying to see like if in Quebec there's good ones. Like it's not common because like there's a big culture around like Russe, like red ales in Quebec. So
Yep.
having something that's amber like that usually just fits right into that slot of being like it's not a Vienna Lager, it's thoroughly red ale. So it gets lost a little bit into that because usually like the typical Quebec Russe has like a lot of like caramel forward aromas, but with added fruitiness, which is very not common, and also it's a lot more on the red side of things compared to like those kind of like copper tones that we get here.
Right. Well, and to be fair, Vienna Lager is one of those styles that it waned in popularity for quite a long time. I mean, it pretty much, excuse me,
Hey,
carbonation coming
it
back.
has to come out either way. Like you're gonna explode.
So it was really popular up until about World War II, and then it fell off in popularity until about the 1980s. It actually saw a resurgence. 80s and 90s due to the rise of craft brewing in the United States. These people wanted to brew something that people hadn't seen in a while, and they revived the Vienna Lager style, and I'm really grateful that they did. It's still brewed by several larger breweries in Germany and places like that. And if you've ever had a Mexican lager, you've actually had a variety of the Vienna Lager, because Mexican style lagers are just Vienna lagers that the recipe's been tweaked to use the ingredients that were available in Mexico. So, it's amazing how many of these styles are all interconnected.
Yeah. Is
related.
it? I think the Modelo Negra. Yes, exactly.
Negro, yeah.
That's a copper beer, right? If I'm not mistaken, or it's a dark beer.
Yep.
Yeah, they drink a lot of that over there. Like
Yep.
it's super popular. There's a lot of
yeah, and that is a Vienna lager.
I didn't know about that. We did a Vienna Lager 101 on our YouTube channel. I didn't even talk about it, so now I feel ashamed.
Well, but I wouldn't feel ashamed if I were you. I mean, because technically speaking, Mexican lager is its own thing. So its roots are from Vienna Lager. So what happened was a bunch of German immigrants went to Mexico, started brewing beer, and they had to tweak the recipe because there was a lot more corn available than there was anything else. So Mexican lagers tend to be sweeter, and they tend to have a lighter color just because of the ingredients that are used. But yeah, it's the same exact thing. I mean, it's made from the original Vienna Lager style recipes.
So history in beer is so nice. Like that time we did like a lot of research for lager yeast, and there's like a weird kind of like off story that lager yeast kind of like originated in the Patagonian mountain chains, and that kind of like found its way through like Tibet and Asia to Germany, and that's where kind of like it's sprung together to be something different, which I think it's so fun to see that, right? But again, like no one actually put the word on it and made sure to say like, yeah, it actually happened. Like maybe it happened, but we don't know.
Now, I actually talked about that. I did a show with a brewer from Washington State who does tons of lagers, and we actually talked about that. And she was a huge resource on the history of it. And there was a study done in I think it was '99. I think it was. And they actually traced it back, and they did verify that it did come from the Patagonian region originally, and they've mapped out the course that it took to get to Germany and things like that. It was really cool. It's a strange history because it's so closely related to ale yeast, but it took its own direction in its evolution. So it's just so cool that that something that's used in Europe had its origins so far away and made its way there and then became something big. It's
because
crazy.
it wasn't native from Europe. Like you can't scrub a tree and get lager yeast. You had to scrub a tree in Patagonia to
Right.
get it. It's phenomenal how like yeast evolves in so many different ways. Like I've always been kind of like passionate about spontaneous fermentation, just because it's so much mystery into one thing. But again, like if you're a microbiologist, you might say like there's no magic in there. It's just science, right? But
Right.
for me, it's like it's magic. You put it outside, and you have a spontaneous fermented drink, right? But again, it doesn't work that way all the time.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, and what's funny is if you go back far enough, like in the German beer purity laws, they didn't list yeast as one of the ingredients originally in the purity laws because they didn't know, because everything was wild fermented, so it was spontaneously fermented. So it's like, oh, it's just we put these things together, and God says, let it be
exactly.
It was a couple hundred years after they made the original purity laws that they actually discovered, oh wait, there is a fourth ingredient.
and we all forget about time, because beer is made of 5 ingredients, and the 5th is time.
Yeah, well, yeah. I don't know that time is really an ingredient so much as a condition.
Yeah. In my mind, like we always talked about it with my friend Max. He's a brewer, and it's kind of like a cool thing to say when you talk about beer with people, because you can geek out about water profiles and malts and hops and yeast, but what about time, right? Fermentation time has an impact, a cold crash time, or boiling time and mashing time. Like every little thing that has a timer on it in the brewing system does have an impact on your final product in the end. So that's where I kind of like fit in time into the 5th ingredients of beer. So every single time people are like, there's 4 ingredients of beer, I'm like, nah, there's 5. So that's
well, I mean, if you want to start calling time an ingredient, then you also have to start saying that there's technically 6 ingredients then, because you have to include
and temperature now, so we can go to 7. So
7. There we go. Let's see. What else can we throw in?
like the vessel could be an ingredient, because sometimes, like if you put it in a wood vessel, then it's different. If you put it in stainless steel, it's different. What do you like in? Yeah.
I don't know.
Have you seen the Norwegians, like where the kvike comes from, like in the northern Europe parts, they have like the yeast rings thing, like it's a wood ring that they just like dump in the like the yeast, and then they hang up in the brewery, and then for the next batch they just throw the ring in, and then it kind of like sprung up again, and they keep the same yeast growing from that little single ring. I think it's phenomenal. It's crazy.
It is. And that yeast is so amazing. I was talking on one of my other episodes. I did an imperial stout using a blend of that yeast from Escarpment Labs here in Ontario, and it literally fermented in 70 hours. I pitched the yeast, and 10-15 minutes after I pitched it, the line going into my water bucket for the CO2 was just going nuts. And it's so crazy because it just goes full speed for like 3 days and then just stops. It's like, it's not like a lot of yeast where it's like bubble, 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 bubble. This is just like full on, and then all of a sudden it's like just goes right off a cliff. Boom, done.
Not ready to go already. I don't know why like bigger breweries that need to kind of like get a faster turnaround on their beers don't use that more often, because you can get like a finished beer in like 3 days. Boom.
Yeah, the thing is though, you really have to control the temperature to get the results you want. Like for the blend I was using, if you kept it below 25 degrees Celsius, for those who are listening, it would give you a nice clean, like an ale finish. If you let it ferment above 25 to up to like 40 degrees, Celsius, it would give you a lot more fruity flavors. So you'd get like the red apple and the grape and things like that. So doing my imperial stout, I kept my fermentation temperature at like 23.5 degrees, and like I said, 3 days it was done. And I pulled it out of the vessel and checked the ABV on it, and just using that, it came out at 10.9
in 3 days.
3 days. In 3 days. It was crazy.
Ouch. Ouch. Yeah. That's fast. That's super fast.
Yeah. I mean, it basically, it cuts the time for an imperial stout in half, because it ferments in 3 days, and you let it keg condition I let mine keg condition for about a month, so rather than taking two weeks or so to ferment and then all that stuff, I was done in 3 days, and it was sitting in a keg to sit for a month and do its thing, and then I was drinking it. So it cuts my time in half when I'm making the big beers.
That's perfect. What kind of setup do you use for your own brewing?
I've got right now I'm in between setups because my last brew house died. So and then I had a whole bunch of adult responsibilities that took precedence, so I haven't replaced my brew house yet. But I've got you understand. You're a parent. I've got SS Brewtech fermenters. I've got a 3/4 horsepower glycol chiller. And I've got the conical fermenters, so I do all my fermenting right in those, and then I just dump everything into kegs. I rack it off into kegs. I've got a commercial beer cooler out in the garage where I brew, and I've got 3 taps out there in the cooler. Plus, I've got a 10-foot long commercial cooler with 4 doors. One door is just for the keg side. The other 3 doors are for the rest of my.
Damn, you have a better setup than we have at the brewery here.
Funny thing. So I'm originally from the Chicago area, and I retired from the job I had.
Obviously, you are from Chicago. Obviously.
Well, I'm actually from north of Chicago, northwest of Chicago, but that's the closest city that anybody knows.
Hey, that's fine. That's fine. I've heard like Good Beer Hunting. You know them, right? They're from Chicago, so a lot of my American beer knowledge comes from Good Beer Hunting. So from Chicago. So to me, someone that comes from Chicago, I'm like, you're the closest thing to a beer American god to me. So again.
Yeah, so I moved up here after I retired, and the goal was originally my wife and I were going to open a brewery, and then we discovered that it's really hard in Ontario to open a brewery and really expensive as compared to the United States. I mean, I looked into it, and it's like, okay, well, you have to have like 5 different licenses if you want to sell beer, make beer, transport beer, sell it by the glass, and allow people to consume it on site. Whereas in the States, for that, I need like 2 licenses, a federal and a state license, and I'm done.
Yeah.
And so then we decided to scrap starting a brewery, and we just decided we'd have a home brewery where we brew our own, and then we just buy beer from all sorts of other people. I think it's worked out really well.
That means next time I'm in your area, I have to drink at your bar from a safe distance or with a mask. I don't mind. I can do that from a straw if you'd like, but I'm double vaxxed too. So again, I'll be glad to try your homebrew, because I think it's something that has its place in the beer industry. Again, we tend to kind of like forget where the craft beer revolution started. It's from all those homebrewers out there that just like from their garage made new recipe, push the beers forward, something that it's not the beer that your father was brewing in his bathtub. We moved to something a bit more serious with homebrewers. And again, I'm the guy that was brewing in his bathtub. It was very bad. But again, I respect a lot of people like that invest a lot of time and effort, and it's a passion project on brewing. And I wish I had more time and could do it by myself. But again, my fridge is just full of all that.
Well, I mean, you're also at the part of your life where you've got little kids at home, so you don't have as much time to do things that you want to do. You got to do things that you
Yeah, I
have
had
to
to
do.
escape. Like I'm actually in the podcast studio at work because I know that at home, like I wouldn't be able to do a recording with you at the moment.
Right. Yeah. No. I totally get it. But yeah, it's funny. I've got a friend of mine who I got into craft brew. Who I got into home brewing, and now he's like he's taken it in his own direction, and more power to him. But man, he's like, I have to look at the style guide, and I have to make my beer to the guide. And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna make a stout, and I'm gonna throw this in it, and I'm gonna throw this in it. Oh, and I'm gonna use this different yeast over here. And he's like, why are you doing this? I'm like, because I want to play around and make beer that I want.
Yeah,
to drink.
I think that's the fun of beer in general, right? You get your inspiration from something that someone else brewed, and after that you do it yourself, and you're trying to make it better, and you're trying to make it like you want it, because obviously you like what the other did, but there's some stuff that you would have done better. So I think that it's always like those little baby steps that brewers are taking and trying and tasting and experimenting with stuff. Like just at the brewery here, we have a little system that we can do 3 20-liter kegs from that system, just to get like, you know what, we can do that base IPA and then try 3 different hop techniques, or let's try this stout and try those
Right.
3 different adjuncts. Let's try this lager or this saison and experiment with that on like just a little steps to make the end product much better. And to, like dumping a beer is not fun, but again, if it's not good, you dump it. But if you can take those steps before, experiment with it, and then try it, build your palate around it, and make like, you know what, those little tweaks that makes it perfect, it makes the whole difference in the end process.
And dumping a beer is a bad thing, but if you learn something from it, then it's not really as bad as it could be, because as long as you learn from the mistakes that you made for that, you build on that and you make the next product better. I mean, so yeah, and I've actually got right now, my buddy who I was just talking about was visiting over the Thanksgiving week, and he brought his brewing equipment with him. We brewed a 20-liter batch. He's got a little robo brew system, so we did an American strong ale, and it didn't go quite as expected because, one, it's equipment I've never used and things like that. So, there's always little tweaks you got to make, but it's sitting in a keg right now. I've got it conditioning, and it'll be ready for Christmas.
Hopefully it's going to turn out well. Like usually when you have high ABV beers, you can save a bit more than, let's say you screwed up your New England IPA, then you can add more hops to it, and it just becomes a green bomb. But it's not a way to go, right? Again, I can complain a lot about way too green beers, but I think we can keep that for a more negative interview if you'd like to. I'm good at complaining. If you didn't see that.
I can tell. Well, man, we have been chatting for 42 minutes. This is I think a good spot for me to say this is the part of the show where I say the show.
Hey, I'm good with that. You told me 45 minutes. I gave you my all. If you want to stretch it out for more, I'm free. But again, I know that we all have stuff to do, so I know that those talks are always fun too.
Yeah. So this is also the part of the show I say, well, if you enjoyed this episode, please click on the little like down there. And if you really enjoy what I'm doing, click subscribe and click the little bell to be notified when new episodes come out. If you have any questions for me or any questions for Chris, please feel free to leave them in the comment section of the video, and I will forward them on to him. If you have a suggestion for a beer style, or a guest you'd like me to try to get on my show, I'll talk to anybody. So, if you've got someone in mind, I'll try and get them on my show. Leave those down in the comments below as well. Other than that, until next time, I'm Rob from the internet. Cheers.
Thanks, Rob, for having me, by the way.
Oh, yeah. Excellent time.